I'm sure enough.
Hey, Dave.
Huh?
Is Jake back from Spain?
At about 3 o'clock, he was in the air.
You don't make it on those meetings.
He's, as far as I know, he's not.
Okay. It says on the back of the meeting.
That he's on that.
I assume Chris is going to be.
Yeah, he's not on the back. He's mainly messaging me about 2:30.
Throwing it out there.
What's going around?
I think you're just on vacation.
All right.
It would be nice to be able to take a vacation to Spain.
I'm trying to remember who
I can't even afford to take a vacation anywhere.
Okay. Hope I'm a minute late. All right, it's 6:16. We're going to bring the Finance Committee meeting to order. We have 2 items on the agenda. Bob, you want to come up? We'll do Bob first, he's with the cemetery. Kind of walk us through the UTV situation, and I think everyone's kind of familiar with it because we,
Yeah, we talked about
yeah.
it
Well,
before.
Go ahead, Bob.
The quote we have is $18,456, and it's the third Kubota with the cab and heater and so forth, so we can use it year-round
Mm-hmm.
rather than the big dump trucks and everything when the ground's wet. And this will be the third one with the cab, and that's how many we need to really get the job done in a good amount of time.
Yeah.
You already got one, Bob. You guys,
2 now, this will be the third one.
okay.
And what that does is give each one of my guys one, so they can fill it, get to the grade, backfill, next one the same way, and get it out of the way. And
Well-
even my summer crew have been using them a lot, just to haul weed whips and so forth, rather than the pickup truck and so forth. So they serve year-round.
For my last 8 years, you haven't asked for something you didn't need that improved it up there, so you got mine. You got my vote.
I appreciate that.
And I sent them the quote here, and the quote's for $18,000, but we put it not to exceed 21 because they told Bob they wouldn't, the price was only guaranteed till the end of what, September? And because of the weight, and he said the last vehicle he bought from them, they said they had to eat the difference, and they weren't willing to do that again. So the price is probably going to go up a little. That's the reason for the discrepancy in the resolution and the quote.
Whatever he needs.
I
John?
agree.
Scott, how you? Good. All right. Painless, Bob. Thank you. And this came out of his auction proceeds. This money basically comes from the non-reverting, but we had put the auction proceeds in there, correct?
Thank you.
All righty. Okay, next on the agenda, we have Chief Yike.
Good evening.
Chief's going to talk to you about a resolution that's in your packet. It's an ordinance that's in your packet. It's ordinance 2023-37. It's about lateral transfers, and he's going to tell you why he feels like this is a good thing for the police department.
So over the last couple of years, we've seen a decrease in police applications. And that's across the state, and not only the state of Indiana, but across the country. Larry, I'm sure you could probably agree with that from your position too. What we've seen a lot of is cross applicants. So just trying to attract other officers who are already trained. Right now, when we hire a new somebody that's not been a police officer, we have to bring them in. They start them at a lower salary. We send them to 16-week police academy, then we train them for approximately 16 plus weeks. With the lateral transfer program, what we're doing is looking at a way to attract other officers that already have experience, that have already worked the road, they've already done probationary time, they've already been through the police academy, and bring them onto our department that have that experience. And by doing, one of those things is not paying them a probationary said pay, we would bump them into the the second bracket or.
Initial
matrix that we
step
have.
of, yeah.
So they would they would still be considered a probationary officer. They would still have to follow all the probationary rules that, as far as a new officer hired. But we would hire them at a higher rate of pay, basically, because they've already served their time at the academy and through a training program and possibly years of service. I just hired an officer who's had 12 years of police experience, plus I believe about 12 years of military police experience as well. And one of the things that we looked at doing was being able to provide that officer with a different, a step up in the matrix instead of the probationary pay matrix. Roughly, it's about, I would say, right around $5,000 total to send somebody to the police academy. So what we're saving in that and attracting an officer from another department, it basically breaks itself even from what we would spend anyway.
And don't we currently give a probationary officer a bonus at the end of the probation period?
No, not the probationary officer, Dave. We give right now we do a $2,500 stipend that we would pay somebody coming from another agency. So this would get rid of that as well. We wouldn't pay them that.
That's what I was getting at. It
Yes.
eliminates that also, which
Yes, correct.
actually makes it more beneficial for us because the officer is more useful right out of the,
Right out of the gate. I can put an officer on the road, just for instance, the officer that just started. We still put them in a training program because we want to make sure that, everything's good. The only thing we're really teaching them is our streets. Other than that, they know how to be police officers, and it saves a lot of time and a lot of training hours back and forth to ILEA in Plainfield, Indiana as well. Talking to other chiefs and other departments, they're looking at getting rid of the probationary pay. They're just putting them straight in the matrix. Frankfurt's one of them. That's where we took this resolution that we did up. Dave and I looked at it and basically took what Frankfurt was doing, but they're just looking at basically getting rid of those probationary pays anyway. They're getting paid, I think the difference, what would be in January would be a $4,500 difference.
Right.
So it's not a big margin that we're cutting anyway.
but we actually come out ahead financially because of
We do at the end, yeah, we pay up front, but yes.
stipend and,
Yes, sir, absolutely.
you guys have any questions on this?
Nope.
Only in favor.
Okay. All right, and just to be clear also, in this ordinance, we asked that it's going to become effective January 1, and because we just allowed the gal to come here from, where was she going?
Kokomo.
Kokomo.
Yes, sir.
With her experience, we have put in the ordinance for you to consider bumping her from probationary to day 1, year 2 at the start of the year. It would cut out about, 10 months of her getting
Yes,
the
sir.
probationary fee.
9 or 10 months, yes.
Oh.
So currently, she's in the probationary pay that we currently have, which is what's until the first of the year. So when she left Kokomo, she started here at what our probationary pay is, and then in January, we would ask to go ahead and bump her into that, and then obviously any other officer that we would hire from another agency that would apply, as long as they're outside of that probationary level of experience, we would hire them as a 2-year officer, basically.
And this still leaves, the difficulty with hiring still leaves their staff 2 under what their complement for 2024 will be. They'll be at 37, and 39 will be their complement. So it's been a struggle to find people.
Correct. I believe it'll help. Talking to other chiefs, that's basically what's going on right now. Even with the state police, it's a lot of taken from other agencies, interdepartmental changes. So we have not advertised as far as our hiring process goes, just word of mouth, I believe. I think Cassie told me yesterday we had 4 or 5 applications already submitted, but we have not opened up a process yet. So
That's a good thing,
5, it is a good thing, Larry. Yeah, 5 is
as long as those people are qualified for the job
correct.
all
Yeah,
around.
yeah, correct.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Any other questions? You guys okay with moving this to council?
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Travis.
Thank you.
Travis.
It is now 6:20. 8:25 by my watch, and that concludes the Finance Committee meeting. All right.
I don't know the specific numbers, but it's significant. Significant. I can't remember off the top of my head what they were. There's two of the ones that didn't get Tyreek. But then for this. employees that-
Looking at on that.
One second. Ordinance 2023-36.
3-36.
That's the last page off that we can-
Okay. You can listen.
Oh, yeah? Do we have to vote on that, or do I just do it?
Yes,
Yes, we have to
only
vote?
because it's been questioned since the last occurrence.
Okay.
So we'll wait till 6:30 and
They said they looked it up and there wasn't a process, right? Who's supposed to do it?
well, we looked around and that's what it says you
Oh, my last
counsel
one,
like
Not right up against it, guys, so my house is not-
2 in a row.
Do what?
2 in a row to our meetings.
That's a way to end it, I'll say that. So proper send, or maybe not proper send off, but send off.
This'll be it. Yeah.
As long as I don't look like an idiot, yeah.
Chad moved out of here for the time being.
Other than like stuttering, I guess.
They're gonna kick you out.
Sound like a Porky, yeah, what are they gonna do? What do you have?
Yeah. Do I?
So when do Christmas break?
Yeah,
Is that starting?
everybody else does.
2 weeks.
I mean, I don't know what else to do. Otherwise, they're just sitting there, otherwise.
For everybody else, bro, it makes a difference.
Like,
So,
what am I, what use do I have for 100 old political signs?
That'd be my guess, yeah.
how's that gonna go?
Well, you may be the only one that got it. You know?
That's why he said, dude, I used to leave it in service, and I said, that's it.
I wouldn't even wanna think about it.
Well, I mean, I couldn't even imagine.
I know that's fair.
I got like, he's got like a ear. If I was in the air that long, I wouldn't be able to sleep.
I don't have fear of heights, mine is fear of being enclosed.
Well, it's a mixture, like you're up in the air, and if you close space like that,
Yeah.
3+ hours, I lose my mind. Which is not good, like I wanna go to Europe, so I'm not gonna take a boat over there either, so I'm just kinda stuck.
Jail in us when you arrested it.
I'd rather fly than take a boat.
One-way street. I thought he was under the influence.
I've seen too many stories of like these cruise ships going down. If you're in a plane that goes down to the ocean, you probably get on into that. I don't want to be a shark. USS Indianapolis. You what? Oh my gosh. Plus, I don't know if I almost drowned when I was my brother-in-law got stuck on top of it. I came like back close to consciousness. And so I have a slight fear of drowning because of that. Or eaten by a shark. I mean, that's just rational. Those things are scary. You know, like, after you watch Jaws, I know it's probably an irrational fear because they don't actually attack them.
Have you met with Dave?
They're there. And if you get injured on like a sinking boat and you're bleeding, you're dead. They're gonna eat you. Especially if it's a great white.
You got 6:30?
Yeah, we're at 6:30. And we're at 6:30.
So proceed, we're gonna vote on, all right, 6:30, should we proceed with voting?
Yeah, we should. See, Dwayne's ready up there and our attorney.
Oh, yeah, they are. Well, they said, I'm gonna not fit in up there. I have a that color too. I didn't get that memo.
You ready? Should I make a motion?
Are you ready now, Dwayne? Okay, I guess we'll make a motion to appoint somebody to sit in for the mayor and the president of the council tonight.
I'd like to make a motion to put Jonathan Nelms in for the leader of this meeting, in place of the mayor and the council president who's absent.
Second.
Wayne, would you like to?
Yeah, I gotta do a roll call.
Thank you. Okay.
Starting to get a little red in the face there.
All right, Scott Petey?
Here.
Or not a roll call, excuse me, a vote call.
Vote call. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Wayne wanted to make sure you knew he was here when he voted.
Yeah. Jonathan?
Abstain. Just 'cause it feels funny. I'll go yes or no.
Larry Hood?
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster?
Yes.
Dave Morris?
Yes.
You're up.
That's 4 yeas.
Ready? It is 6:32, Monday, December the 4th. I'm Councilman Jonathan Nelms, calling to order the Logansport Common Council meeting. Oh, right, thanks. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Amy Densmore? Absent. Larry Hood?
Present.
Jonathan Nelms?
Present.
Jake Ladon? Absent. Scott Petey?
Present.
Haley Zinsmaster?
Present.
Dave Morris?
Present.
We will start with the approval of minutes for the regular session November 6th council meeting.
I make a motion, we accept them.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Call for question.
Larry Hood?
Yes.
Jonathan Nelms?
Yes.
Scott Petey?
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster?
Yes.
Dave Morris?
Yes.
We'll now move on to the approval of minutes for the special called session that was held on November the 27th. You have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
Larry, you weren't present for that meeting. I don't know if you're allowed a second on that. You weren't, he can second on that? Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Okay, just wanted to make sure. Call for question.
Jonathan Nelms?
Yes.
Scott Petey?
Yes.
Dave Morris?
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster?
Yes.
Larry Hood?
Abstain.
Special minutes are approved. No comments from here. Moving on to reports from committees, boards, and commissions.
Okay, give me just a second here. Somewhere in this mess. Nope. Hang on, there we go. Yeah, the Finance Committee met on 3 different occasions. We met on November 13th, November 27th, and earlier this evening. Topics of discussion were health insurance, Tipton Lodge, parks transfer, a police transfer, grant funding for Erie Avenue, insurance again on the 27th, and the grant fund for the body cameras, the cemetery utility vehicle, and the police lateral transfers. And all of those except the Tipton Lodge are in tonight's agenda, I believe.
On November the 27th, there was a Planning and Economic Development Committee meeting. Topics of discussion were the amendment to the farmer's market lot, land transfer to the redevelopment commission along Ray Street, and a designated outdoor refreshment area resolution. All of those were moved forward to the council meeting tonight. Are there any other reports from committees, boards, and commissions? Okay. Hearing none, moving on to old business. Ordinance 2023-26, Councilwoman Zinsmaster.
Ordinance 2023-26, an ordinance concerning the construction of additions and improvements to the sewage works of the city of Logansport, Indiana, the issuance of revenue bonds to provide the cost thereof, the collection, segregation, and distribution of revenues of said sewage works, the safeguarding of the interests of the owners of said revenue bonds, other matters connected therewith, then, including the issuance of notes in anticipation of bonds and repealing ordinances inconsistent herewith. And I would ask for a vote on the second reading of ordinance 2023-26.
Second.
Motion and second. Is there any further discussion?
Greg, oh, there you are. I was going to say, you want to say anything?
We had our pre-close on the 5th. It went really well. We're going to close on the 14th with no problems, and we got pool funding money, which is great, lowered our interest rate. So this all went off without a hitch. So thanks to all of you. I will give you my word, we'll be the best stewards of this money we can possibly be, and we'll have improvements that'll last for generations to come for the community of Logansport. So desperately needed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Thank you, Greg.
Thanks.
All right. Hearing none, call for question.
Jonathan Elms,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Scott Peady.
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-26 is passed on its second reading. Ordinance 2023-27, Councilman Peady.
Ordinance 2023-27, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, amending ordinance 2022-40, establishing longevity pay for civil city employees. Mr. Leader, I ask for a vote on ordinance 2023-27, please.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, call for question. Oh, no rush.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Scott Peady,
Yes.
Jonathan Elms.
Yes. Ordinance 2023-27 is passed on its second reading. Ordinance 2023-28, Councilman Hood.
Ordinance 2023-28, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, amending ordinance 2022-41, establishing longevity pay for members of the Logansport Police Departments, fire departments, and retirees and spouses of those departments. On its second reading, Mr. Leader, I ask for a second vote on ordinance 2023-28.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, call for question.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Jonathan Elms,
Yes.
Scott Peady,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster.
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-28 is passed on its second reading. Resolution 2023-149, Councilman, oh, hold on, I'm sorry, I'm reading this out of order. Ordinance 2023-29, Councilman Morris.
An ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, revoking ordinance 2021-50 in its entirety and approving a new Logansport City Employee Handbook. I'd move this forward for a vote.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, call for question.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Jonathan Nelms.
Yes. Ordinance 2023-29 is passed on its second reading. Ordinance 2023-30, Councilman Petey.
Ordinance 2023-30, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, appropriating funds from the County Economic Development Income Tax Seeded Fund for Logan's Landing Organization for operational needs and facade improvement program. Mr. Leader asks for a vote on ordinance 2023-30, please.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, call for question.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Yes.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Jonathan Nelms,
Yes.
Larry Hood.
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-30 is passed on its second reading. Ordinance 2023-31, Councilwoman Zinsmaster.
Ordinance 2023-31, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, committing funds from the County Economic Development Income Tax Fund, CEDAT, to be used for the expenditures of the Cass County Historical Society utilities. And I would ask this, have a vote on its second reading.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, call for question.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Jonathan Nelms,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Yes.
Scott Petey.
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-31 is passed on its second reading. Ordinance 2023-32, Councilman Morris.
Ordinance 2023-32, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, authorizing the investment of public funds pursuant to Indiana Code 5-13-9-5.7 on its second reading. I'd move this forward for a vote.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Call for question.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Jonathan Nelms,
Yes.
Larry Hood.
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-32 is passed on its second reading. Ordinance 2023-33, Councilman Hood.
Ordinance 2023-33 is an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, amending ordinance 2010-29, placing the code enforcement within the police department. On the second reading, Mr. Leader, I would like to ask for a vote on ordinance 2023-33.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Call for question.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Jonathan Nelms,
Yes.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster.
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-33 is passed on its second reading. Moving on to new business, Resolution 2023-148, Councilman Morris.
Okay, Resolution 2023-148, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, to approve and enter into a land acquisition agreement with the Logansport Redevelopment Commission. I'd like to table this till later in the,
That's what I was going to ask.
yes,
Ally.
it would have to be after, what did I write down here? After ordinance 2023-34. Thank you, Aaron.
There's a motion to table. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for question on the motion to table.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Yes.
Jonathan Elms.
Yes. Resolution 2023-148 is tabled. Resolution 2023-149, Councilman Petey.
Resolution 2023-149, resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, amending Resolution 2022-101 and entering into a land acquisition agreement with the Logansport Redevelopment Commission. Mr. Leader, I ask for a vote on Resolution 2023-149, please.
Second.
Motion and a second.
Can I say something?
Yes, ma'am.
So we're voting on the farmer's market lot right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. My name's Emily Klabundi, and today I'm here on behalf of the Logansport Farmers Market. I came to the October City Council meeting and spoke to all of you, asking for consideration in regards to the farmers market lot that was donated by Salem Bank to the City of Logansport for the Logansport Farmers Market back in 2011. Following that meeting, we were contacted by Kate Pomisel and Aaron Shaver requesting to meet with the market board later in October. During our meeting, they told us that they would keep us informed regarding the lot, but that there is high demand for the location and we are very insignificant as far as a tax base for the City of Logansport. We had a courteous and respectful meeting and they assured us that they would keep us in the loop. However, we recently found out that last week Aaron proposed to turn the lot over to the redevelopment committee permanently. She did not inform us about this action, nor was it done in a way that we could ever know about this proposal, which was made during the Special Finance Committee meeting, except that one person at that meeting alerted us that there may be a vote on the matter tonight. So that is why we are here. I realize that we are not a large, high-dollar organization, but we are part of the heart of this community. Economically, the farmers market organization should be considered an incubator. A business incubator is an organization that helps startup companies and individual entrepreneurs to develop their businesses. This is invaluable in a small town like Logansport and is included in the mission of the Logansport Farmers Market nonprofit organization. The farmers market sellers include teachers, school principals, factory workers, bankers, produce and livestock farmers, artists, etc. We are local families and we have roots. One of our vendors, Joe Showley, has been selling fresh produce and apples from his orchard at the Logansport Farmers Market for 35 years. Many of the vendors, including myself, work alongside their children or other family members because they function as family businesses. This is healthy for Logansport. This is exactly what a city should be looking to promote. Farmers Market is a bridge that brings the rural producers together with the community in town. I realize those of us who live outside of city limits aren't allowed to vote in the Logansport city politics. We cannot even vote for the mayor or city officials who make these decisions for and around us. We have no say, but we are part of the Logansport community and we are here today to let you know what matters to us and to let you know that there are a lot of people who care about and have a vision for the future of the Logansport Farmers Market. The Logansport Parks and Recreation Department published a report of a survey early this year. The Indiana Department of Natural Resources requires an updated master plan every 5 years to remain eligible for certain state and federal funding opportunities. Table Q11 of this survey represents which programs are most important to households. The very top answer was farmers market. The next table shows priorities for program investments. On this chart, farmers market ranks number 2 in priority, only 1 point behind adult fitness and wellness programs. This is what matters to the community of Logansport. You may say that we can relocate, but location is everything when it comes to a small town farmers market. We have been meeting with the city planner for 3 years now, finding no other location suitable for the market as we know it. This same struggle existed from 1985 until 2011. By then, Salem Bank had started allowing the farmers market to use their employee parking lot at no cost. And then in 2011, Salem Bank donated that lot at 4th and Market to the city for the farmers market. This is how the Ferris Tribune article, June 3rd, 2011, begins. Because of a donation from Salem Bank, the Logansport Farmers Market now has a permanent location downtown. Representatives from Salem Bank, the City of Logansport, and the Farmers Market gathered at the corner of Market and 4th Streets Thursday afternoon for a ceremony to give the city the paved parking lot and unveil the new sign marking the Farmers Market. A bank representative stated, "We wanted to sponsor this new sign designed for the Farmers Market to show our support to the community." Later in the article, that representative stated, "We are so excited to be a part of the Farmers Market in this special way. It is wonderful to give back to Logansport in a way that will positively impact so many people." And this is where the Farmers Market has operated until 2021, when the city suddenly dozed our public bathroom and told us to move. So we are here to appeal these decisions and to stand up for the original purpose of Salem Bank's donation. Bill Salem himself stated, "One of our goals continues to be supporting the communities we serve, and this gift to the city of Logansport and its residents will benefit the community for generations to come." It doesn't matter if the city can make more money by putting a building on our lot. The intent of this donation was not to put up shops and housing. We need to look at the long term. The purpose was to benefit the community of Logansport for generations to come. And here we still are, townspeople and rural alike, fighting for our community. Logansport can do better. This one lot was donated to be the permanent home of the Logansport Farmers Market, and we have continually operated from that location for over 15 years. Please keep this distinction and designation. Do not hand the Logansport Farmers Market lot over to the redevelopment committee. Logansport does not need another building. Keep the view from City Center open to Little Turtle Waterway. Extend and beautify that park and permit the farmers market to continue to operate, as well as other festivals and community events that use that space. We are here to respectfully stand up for our community. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion?
Paul Wilhelm, 630 South 15th Street. I just wanted to point out certain things we've learned in the last year and a half since we had a developer supposedly be interested in this site as part of the Urban Park project. We were told that the purpose of this development would bring housing to the downtown. At what cost? Approximately a $6 million project, which would result in an average rent between $1,200 and $1,600 a month. Now, one of the perks that we have is you don't have to have parking with development in the downtown with apartments. That was originally proposed and passed by the council for the purpose of developing existing buildings in the community. We had second and third floors all over downtown, which had originally shopkeepers or employees living above the stores that they worked for. In an effort to bring that type of development back to our downtown, development I might add that cities like Wabash and Delphi already have, we passed a no parking minimum. That was the original intent of no parking minimums. Now, no parking minimums work differently in really big cities. I come from Indianapolis. I live downtown. If I didn't want to have a car, I could have probably lived without it, because there were 3 groceries downtown, there was a hardware store downtown, plenty of restaurants. Anything you needed was downtown. But that's not the case in Logansport. If we were to build on this particular site, anyone who would occupy that property, let's say they didn't have a car, they would have to drive 20 blocks to Walmart or 12 blocks to DNR. If I'm a developer, I don't find that to be an attractive proposition. And what did we see with this last developer? They said, well, we need parking. We need 60 parking spaces. They asked the Cass County Historical Society to give them their lot. They weren't interested in selling. They talked to the city about the lot across from the State Theater. They weren't interested in that. The point is, if we develop high-density housing on that site, we are not going to have any developer come forward that says, it's okay if my people park on the street, because nobody paying $1,600 a month for an apartment is going to want to park their car on the street. They want dedicated parking. The farmers market is actually the best and highest use for this lot at this time. And I've heard people say, well, it wasn't put in as a deed codicil in the original deed from Salem Bank to the farmers market. That's not the point. I can understand why it wouldn't be placed as a deed codicil, because if it were, The farmer's market was not incorporated at that time as a nonprofit. They could have been given a gift of land somewhere and said, oh, we're going to move over here. And if we tried to sell that lot for development, we would have a problem in clearing that protective deed. It'd be more complex. So, as most cities did, we just said, okay, we got the deed, but we made an agreement. We made our word to these people that we would have a farmer's market there. I've talked to people who were working for the city at that time. They recall this, and quite frankly, if you have to go to court and you have to subpoena these people as part of a lawsuit, they're going to have to tell exactly what they knew at the time. And that's about where we're at if the city refuses to listen to the public on an issue that everybody in this room took time out of their day to come and see. It's really simple. Yes, we need more development downtown. Yes, we will probably have development over on Eel River near the event center, and that may be a very good place for housing at this time. But the farmer's market is not the solution. I believe you should deny this resolution at this time. And furthermore, I'd like to see the council going forward work to have a project of actually doing something with the community. I know you come here, I know you all put in a lot of time and effort dealing with budgets and dealing with the all things relative, but the old councils used to actually do that. They used to be part of the community. They used to go out and meet with business people. They used to go out and meet with the community and say, what do we need? What do we need our community to be? And it strikes me that if we need a permanent farmer's market there, we may eventually need a building. We certainly need covered area for the farmer's market. And those opportunities exist. We can get grant funding for that. We can also raise money for things like that. But at some point, the council has to look at the overwhelming use. If we're going to attract development, if you're going to attract businesses downtown, you have to have attractions. You have to have a reason for people to want to be downtown. You've done a good job so far with the microbreweries and wineries and things like that. But in order to attract quality development, you need to have quality products. Things like museums are quality product, and things like the farmer's market are clearly a quality product that we need in the downtown. So I urge you to not approve this resolution tonight, and I would hope that the council going forward next year would make a real effort to work with the community and see if we can put together a more realistic and permanent plan for the farmer's market site. I mean, if we can spend $1 million on a golf course and seeded funds, we can spend seeded funds here, seeded funds there. I'm sure that we can put a little bit of effort into the farmer's market and have something that will be even better than what we have now. And last year's farmer's market was really great. Lots of community participation. You had people driving in from all over to it. It's the one thing we have that works downtown, and we shouldn't destroy it, hoping that we get a developer who's going to come in and build housing. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Anyone on council?
I have a question is Jake in the audience? Jake Bomsel? Can you come up, please? If Salem Bank has donated that land, does the council have authority to override that gifting?
From what I understand, and I've read the article, Salem donated it to the city essentially because they wanted to get off their books. It was being used by the farmer's market, but that's why they donated it. They didn't want to deal with the lot that they weren't really actively using, and as you know, Salem pulled out and they're no longer here. So there's also an article from a couple years later, I believe, during the Franklin administration, when they were looking at doing some development down there, where the remaining people at Salem said, it's the city's property, we don't care what happens to it. And so the city council has full control over it, and what I would say is that it being in the redevelopment commission's hands does not change the fact that there would have to be public meetings associated with any type of development on there. There will be time for public comment. What this really allows is not having to go back and forth with deeds and doing recordings and all of that kind of stuff and wasting money when it comes to the point that there might be development on that lot.
Okay. So if it was donated to the farmer's market, do they have deed for that? Do they own that property?
The farmer's market does not, it was donated to the city. It was not donated to the farmers market. The city has always owned it since that point. It was just being used as the farmers market lot.
What type of pull does Salem Bank have to dictate what it's used for?
Nothing,
Nothing.
nothing.
Okay. No legal ramifications or anything?
There's not. I mean, I'd leave that to, Kelly and some of the other people to look into, but Salem Bank has no say over what happens there. So it's in the council's purview completely.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Anything else?
I was just going to ask you, Jacob, what, and I know the reasoning, the rationale behind the RDC owning the property rather than the city. It simplifies some of the processes. But what I would ask you is, what's your thoughts on the idea that, now you just said you were willing to have public meetings, and I've heard where evidently we weren't having very successful public meetings with this group if we were.
I would bristle a little bit at the characterization of the meeting that Aaron and I had. We went out of our way to reach out to ask them about, what a sustainable solution would be, knowing that there was a possibility of this happening. It became clear that they had no interest in any other options, really. We had given the option of potentially closing down that strip of Melbourne Avenue right there off of 3rd Street and the bridge to allow them to do that and make that a permanent spot. We thought that would be very nice, very visible. I think there's some disagreement with that, but that was something that was offered in that meeting. I know that Mike McCord has offered them to the ability to use his lot, which is not in downtown and would take some processes. But there have been some options presented, and it's not just, let's kick them out and they have to find a new place to go. So that's how that meeting went. We took time after hours to go and meet with them at their convenience, and so I bristle a little bit at that, and this is basically extending the status quo with the redevelopment commission. We didn't feel like this was something that, there was something imminently going to happen with that lot that would force them to move. This just simplifies a lot of the city bureaucracy that we deal with on a daily basis.
I have a question for the deputy mayor. You said that you guys had talked about Melbourne, which is where they were for a while. You know what, I came down, I've lived in this town most of my life. I almost couldn't find a place when it was over on Melbourne to begin with. I'm not for that at all. I mean, if you think that's a better spot.
I think that is a perfectly fine spot. I think that's a perfectly fine spot when it's that or $6 to $8 million development with necessary housing on the farmers market lot. We can't go and build something on Melbourne, but we can build something there, and I don't see how having an extra 60 to 100 people living in that block area would be a detriment to a market down there. And I also would like to point out that we do have a lot of other businesses in downtown that have a brick and mortar location, and they pay their property taxes, they've participated in our facade programs and things of that nature. And so there are businesses that they come in and compete with. And my wife and I go to the farmers market all the time. We love it. It's a great thing for the community. But as a city council and as city government, we have to balance all of these things, and housing is a huge need. That's one of the #1 spots that people have identified to build something for over a decade now through multiple administrations. And so that's what we're working towards. Obviously, the city council will have, the final say over what happens to properties there. But that's also something that we have to balance. Is a great thing. I don't think it's any less great if it's moved a half block away. I think it's just as visible. I think that it provides more flexibility, to be honest with you. We're not talking about the lot there on Melbourne, if that's what you're talking about. I mean, they'd be able to go all the way up to 3rd Street, essentially, and have signage or whatever. And if it became a permanent spot and you were advertising to draw people there, I think it would be a lot better than the limbo that we've been in. And that's just my opinion on it.
Well, and then another thing I guess I have an issue with is we're a city of a lot of parking lots downtown. you guys are gonna tell, and even up there at, and I know this is out of the downtown area, up there where, by Pizza Hut, there's a huge lot up there with an apartment complex right back behind it. With all these lots, you guys are telling me that we can't go to another lot? I
Barry,
mean,
do you know what they wanted for that lot over there behind Pizza Hut? What their asking price is? That would, when we talked to them about that lot in the past, over $1.5 million they want for that lot. So nobody's going to come in and make a development there at this time. I mean, it's just not going to happen.
what about the other parking lots downtown? I mean,
Which ones do the city own? The Barnes lot?
I don't know, you tell me.
That's the point.
I'm just saying that,
I just wanted to point out the parking lots, so if they wanted to go to McCord's, it's not that they couldn't, it's just a procedural. So the council has adopted, and this was for any of your terms, that the farmer's market would be in the downtown district, and so to go to other districts, there's just a process. And so they would just have to go through that process if they wanted to be on any of the other parking lots. I just wanted to make sure that was clear for
And
you.
as far as development on the other parking lots, they looked at doing development near the PNC lot at one point over the last couple of years. There were some significant utility issues underneath there that prevented that from happening. The city, as far as what the city owns in downtown, which is what developers typically will go for because it prevents that cost and prevents that from becoming an issue. The only other one is the Barnes lot or the city parking lot here. Other than that, the city doesn't own any other property that's really buildable. And so that's why this lot is because
the city owns it.
because the city owns it and it's very well located and have the ability to so, happy to answer any other questions, but I don't think that passing this resolution to allow it to remain with the redevelopment commission, number one, commits the city to anything. And it may turn out that no developer works there and the highest and best use is for the farmer's market to remain there. But I do think that there are other options, and I think that based on discussions we've had with some of the developers, that we're looking at, $6 to $10 million of development, of investment on that lot. And if we want to reject that, we can, and move forward this way, but I think that it behooves us to go through the process with the redevelopment commission, allow them to discuss this with developers, and not throw a wrench in things that we don't necessarily need to.
Well, I guess the question I'd have, Jacob, and I have mixed emotions. I don't know how I feel about the whole situation, to be honest with you. There's some days I think, well, leave it alone, leave it be the farmer's market. Other days I think, well, maybe we need to develop that. I get caught up, depending on who I'm talking to, quite honestly, sometimes. It can be convincing either direction. What's the harm in, there's nothing that says the RDC can't talk to any developer. But, I guess the part that bothers me most about this is I don't even know how long that original resolution was written, but it was well beyond the 6 months. And I brought it up that, hey, we did put a time limit on this, and finally we gave the guy another 30 days after he'd had, I don't know how long, at least a year, I would venture to say. So what's the harm in the city taking it back? There's no charge to talk to anybody. If somebody's truly interested, we revisit the thing. It gives the people that are interested in the farmer's market, if they're really interested in it, there's ways for them to get motivated and to come up with a creative way to develop that, if that's what they want.
I think that possibility is still available in the redevelopment commission's hands. They could decide that they want to go forward with some type of public-private partnership to develop the farmer's market there. Maybe that is the best route, depending on the way that funding goes. And I feel that it is best to remain in the redevelopment commission's hands. I do not know that they would be able to negotiate with developers if the property reverted back. I would think that you'd probably have to restart the entire process. And we probably have to do a city process, which ties our hands a little bit on the way that, the property could change hands down the road.
We could, I mean,
I think that the only thing we lose doing this is time, but time can be very significant when we have some of the opportunities that we're trying to go after, when we're looking at, the worker recruitment program or the things happening over in Kokomo with the Star Plus Energy, with these people coming in over the next couple of years and where they're going to live. A delay of a couple of months on negotiating with developers and getting something going can be it. I mean, it just can. We can lose out on our opportunity to get significant development there. And I truly feel that we would be able to find a suitable location to assist in the long-term growth of the farmers market. I don't do any of this thinking and hoping that this will hurt the farmers market. I think that with the right marketing campaign, with a truly permanent location that works for them and works for their growth down the road, like Melbourne would be, or Mr. McCord's lot, or some other options that we've potentially looked at, I think that there can be a win-win in this. But I do not feel that it would be responsible to deny the potential to develop that property and leave it a parking lot forever, because
that's not the question I'm asking, and the question is not denying the opportunity. The question is just making sure, because one of the biggest issues that I get wrapped up in my head, and maybe it's just me, but I didn't get elected to do what I think's best. You didn't get elected to do what you think's best. I think we were elected to do what the community thinks is best. And I feel like, Jacob, that I'm not saying we need to legally turn it back over to the city, but we could table this thing. We could write a clause in there that says there has to be a public meeting where all are involved. There has to be a majority of the council want to move forward with any project that the RDC would bring to us. I don't think that's a bad thing for down there. I think there's enough going on, and I'm with you. I would like to believe that things could move as quickly as you think, but you've been here 4 years, well, not 4 years now, but you've been here long enough to know that if we think we're going to get it done next month, it's probably going to be 2 months.
And we're throwing another wrench in the process here. If we slow things down, we're throwing another wrench in the process, and if that's the way that it is, we'll work through it. That's not a problem. I have a lot of faith in the Redevelopment Commission. I think that they're a good group of community-minded people that are very accomplished in business and in their fields, and I trust them to make the best decision with that property. But ultimately, the decision is up to you guys.
Well, unfortunately, if we go forward with this, I'm going to be the wrench in the process because I'm going to vote no. But we've had certain things in Logansport. The Iron Horse train was down here. We bought that train. It got sold. We've had other things in town that were good things. Ivy Tech, we had Ivy Tech downtown before they got out on the highway. I don't know, but this does not seem like a good thing, moving something that I think should be there. So,
I'll go back to your point. We have enough parking lots, and this is an opportunity to not have that, to work with the Redevelopment Commission and interested developers to help grow the downtown, to eliminate an empty lot that sits there underutilized for most of the year, and we think that we can find an amicable solution for the farmers market that allows them to grow and thrive for many years to come and not have this uncertainty, because Erin, I think in our meeting with the farmers market, said that every administration that she's been a part of has had development plans for that lot since it was donated, and I don't see that not continuing in the future. And so we could string this along as far as we want to, but eventually, whether it's us, the next people, 10 years down the road, something is probably going to be built on that lot. And if we can find a solution now that works for everybody, then I think that's better than kicking the can down the road.
What about development on that lot now? Mr. Willem has suggested covered buildings or lean-tos, whatever.
Well, that would be the
And more of
difference
that
between
2,000
private development of however many millions and the city having to fork over a couple $1 million itself. And, I don't know where we find grant money for that. It's very easy for people to say, oh, you can find grants for that. We look for them all the time. We jump on every opportunity that we can. But I also don't know that it's responsible to spend millions of dollars of city money to build brick and mortar for people to come from out of town and come in and sell when we have, gift shops in our downtown that have a brick and mortar. We have grocery stores in our downtown that have a brick and mortar and pay their property taxes and work and hire people.
Isn't that a downtown attraction, though? Isn't that a downtown attraction?
I think that it is an attraction, but it's an attraction for people to want to live and do all of that. But if we take away the prime location to build new apartments, then it kind of defeats the purpose. And that's why I've said we've tried to come up with some other solutions. I still believe that the Melbourne solution is a good one. We talked about the possibility of even closing down 4th Street there during their hours, so that would allow development to happen, but it could stay in the same general area. And just the ability to work forward on some of those solutions rather than being stuck on this lot and nothing ever happening on it, and then having to scramble if another administration comes down the road and wants to do something like we had previously. So that's just my opinion on it. I think that there are solutions. Some of them have been offered. Nobody likes change. I mean, it's very easy to say, let's not do anything. We'll leave that as a parking lot forever, and it'd be very easy vote for you guys. You won't have people mad at you, but the city would miss out on an opportunity to what I think have win all the way around for everybody.
Thank you.
Jacob.
There's been numerous discussions about the urban park and how and why we need the urban park. I don't know why we can't build housing on Melbourne Avenue. I don't know why we can't build mixed-use housing on Melbourne Avenue. We have site there that was all commercial buildings. If you go from 3rd Street all the way down to where the Iron Horse Museum currently is, those were hotels and retail, all the way through until they were torn down in the 1970s and 80s because they were blighted. We've demonstrated that commercial can work along Melbourne. If I'm a developer, I frankly would have a hard time renting apartments on one of the busiest streets in the entire downtown. Market Street and Broadway have the highest traffic counts in downtown. If you want to put apartments, you don't want to put them in a high-traffic, high-noise area. You would want to relocate them over onto Melbourne Avenue. They would be facing a park. They would be in a much better location. And the city owns additional parking right down there from the existing parking they have where the park is. There's a big tract of land the city owns that could also be parking if you need more parking. I'm just saying there are other options that may be explored that this administration refuses to explore. They say, oh, no, the developer wants to be over here on Market Street, that's the way it is. I don't believe that's necessarily the case. I believe the Redevelopment Commission, if it puts together a comprehensive plan for Melbourne Avenue, could come up with a solution that would be very attractive to developers to build there. We just need to explore all our options and stop going down a narrowly focused idea of it's our way or the highway. That's not the way cities work. That's not the way councils work. That's not the way mayors are supposed to work. So we just need to start listening a little more and not be so rigid in our ideas. Otherwise, we're just doomed to keep tearing down the things that have made the city great. Thank you.
Susan Gerald, 735 Walnut Ridge. I lived what the Redevelopment Commission is talking about doing. Before we moved here back home, I lived in a low-rise apartment building. There was actually parking underneath the building. So, you can build, that can happen. And then also, there were market days in the little area where we lived, and it created so much foot traffic. The apartment dwellers, they get out on the weekends, they get out on the weekdays, they walk, they take their dogs for walks in the park, they go by a farmer's market. So I think both can happen in that area. And moving forward would be having both happen in that area. There's a solution. If there's a developer willing to develop and they want to make money, they'll do it. So, anyway, I think both are possible.
Thank you.
My opinion.
Thank you.
I just wanted to answer some of the questions. So the property that was bought from Mike Anderson and Bill Thompson actually does have on its deed that it can only be used for park purposes that the city purchased. So that would not be able to be sold for development, just as a side note. I know that there's a lot of utilities in that area with the stormwater on 4th Street and stuff, so I just want to let you guys know. And then from the State Theater to 3rd Street, Mike Anderson still owns that lot, so that lot is not owned by the city, just so that you know kind of that. We did originally have the River Park, whatever, north to south, and it was changed because a developer, I tried to think that way, but we had a couple developers say they didn't want to be on Melbourne, and that's when that plan changed. So that's the reason why that plan changed. If anybody here had seen that plan previously, it's because developers were asking to be on the 4th and Market Street intersection versus Melbourne. So I just want to tell you the history of what I know and the information on those lots.
Aaron, let me ask you a question while you're up here. If we just tabled this thing and tried to come up with some type of a wording to make sure that everyone has their say, I think that's as big an important a thing as anything in this. I don't know, I wasn't in the meetings that were held, but it seems as though there was some dissatisfaction on both sides as far as how those meetings went. I certainly don't want to hold up development, but at the same time, I've seen that tried to be developed, and it's not going to be a quick fix because it's tough to make the numbers work down there. Do you, in your mind, think that it would be a huge delay to have some type of a clause in there that says, we leave it the way it is, but the RDC would have to bring any proposal they had to the city to be passed? Do you think that's a big deal? Or?
I think that would be fine. I think the concern is when you send it back to the city, then we lose some of our RFP discussions and talking to developers and trying to figure out that site. We have to restart all over if it's switched back to the city and then switched back to.
I'm not asking you to actually switch the title.
So
I'm just.
That's the biggest concern. So if you just put some language in the ordinance, even if it's erasing the 6 months, but because we're erasing the 6 months, it says it has to come back to be a public meeting or whatever. I mean, I don't see the problem, other than a lot of developers don't like that information out there, so it'd be very general in terms of, hey, we're looking at this many units, not really the developer, because until they actually get everything done, they usually don't like to make it public. Usually during their LOI timeframe, it's more of just kind of finding out information, so.
Aaron, what about the courthouse parking lots there? How many do they have as part of the courthouse, and where do they go to?
So they actually don't own the property, the parking that's right against the Logan Square building. They only own the very corner. So they have about 4 rows of parking. I don't know the total amount there. Like Emily said, I've been talking to them 3+ years of trying to find a location. It's a hard balance between businesses and their time frame and when they need to set up. Like on Wednesdays, they're usually setting up at 4 or starting at 4. I'm not sure exactly, but it's a hard time frame that some people are still parking there. So that's usually the issue, like on Wednesdays. Saturdays is a little bit easier, but if they're Saturday mornings, like they couldn't use the Security Federal parking lot or something like that because they're still open. So that's kind of the back and forth that we've had. And then additionally, they park and sell out of their vehicles. A lot of different farmers market do set up tents, but because they're selling out of their vehicles, we have to try to find a location that's going to be large enough to park your vehicle and have your tent and have pedestrian, and then being able to leave the facility because they actually let people leave during that hour too. So we need to make sure we have all of that. So it's a bigger lot than you would just think. Because a lot of other communities you see, and they just go put it in like a Cass County parking lot, but they're bringing in their goods and then parking elsewhere where that's not how they operate in Logansport. So that makes it a little bit different on the size of the lot and workings of the lot.
Hey, Aaron, I have a question from the resolution of original. I've got it pulled up, and it said after 6 months that the lot automatically would come back to the city. Since it has come back to the city, does that automatically stop the RFP process and reset
It
it?
says automatically, but we still have to do a deed. I haven't done the deed, so, because that costs money and time and different things. So
Right, but I'm just saying by resolution, it is back to the city.
I would have to defer to someone else. I don't know specifically on that. But that was the question. Since it automatically returns back, do I need to make a deed? And that was why this was all brought up, basically, is it says 6 months, so do I need to make a deed now? Should we make that change and see if I shouldn't make a deed? Because once we make a deed back, then we have to make a deed back if that would occur. So that was the question. That's why it was brought up to the council to review.
Aaron, I'd like to ask a question. How many developers?
Come up here, Susie, please.
I just have a question as to, nobody knows how many developers you're talking to. So nobody has an idea of what your opportunity is or what our opportunity is. So how many people are you talking to right now that are interested in purchasing that land and developing something?
There is an individual that we work with that has different developers behind him that have interest. I would say right now, originally we had 3, we're probably down to more 2 looking at that location, but they're also looking at other locations too. But different prototypes for different locations, obviously. So this is more apartment. Some of the other ones are more single family or duplexes type of
Which wouldn't be an opportunity there.
Right.
So you don't really have anything right now that you're tied into that makes it so that everybody has to decide right now.
No, and that's why I'm saying I don't think having there, 1 more month to review that ordinance would cause too much of an issue. And then we need to check on that, the question Dwayne has. But I think the question was just going back and forth every time it would be.
But I also want to ask, so the developer that you did have that backed out recently, how long did you talk to them before you actually got them tied into that process? Like, how long did that process go on before they said yes, and then they said no?
So they initially said yes and had a LOI, and that was within a few months. But there's the difference between an LOI and actually pulling the trigger and actually moving forward with the project. And so that's when we gave them a deadline. So we had him probably within, 3 or 4 months. Jacob can correct me if I'm wrong. And then after that LOI, we said, okay, you've had enough time. In 30 days, you need to tell us yes or no. So that's kind of how that works.
Okay, so we do have.
Hey, Gary.
Thank you. You want to speak, sir? Sure. Please state your name and address into the microphone for us, sir.
I'm here on a different related thing, but I think.
Sir, please state your name and.
Oh, Steve Clark, and Carolyn Newport, where she's not here today. We're from 720 Fulton Street, up over by the hospital. And this might help you guys out, and I'm pretty sure that it would help this. We had a similar situation back in 2001 where we had a developer that wanted to come in and put a 715-unit apartment over by my place. I don't know if you remember that, Dave, but this happened back when Bob Bishop was on the city council. Well, this developer, he wanted to develop all this land, but there was other issues that was on it that he was going to bring in doctors and lawyers and and there was going to be specialists. Well, you know, I don't really know any type of specialist or a surgeon that's going to come in and live in an apartment of that nature. I'm pretty sure they all make professional type money up in the hundreds and thousands of dollars. They're going to end up buying them a home, and it's just being realistic. You're not going to get them type of people that are going to come in there and live in there. So I went and with Bob Bishop, and I think it was Mayor Vernon at the time, I reached deep in my pockets and bought this property. Well, it's sitting on a 16-foot wide street. You can't hardly get a fire truck to go down it, and it's been like that since 1902. Our family has been living in that house that's sitting there on the corner at 720 Fulton for over 122 years. That's how long we've been there. And no much, however you develop it, it's still going to be the same. I bought the property, kept it as it is in the natural state. And in the same way, we have dual residency between here in Logansport and Peru. And I can tell you right now, there's a lot of people over in Peru that drives here to do their shopping. Peru has went downhill so bad that most of your shopping is being done from over here. The residents come over here to shop. And one thing that we noticed during the summer times is this market. It's a great place for it. I think it's a good addition to for Logansport. It attracts people, and I don't think the density of building whatever this is, because like I said, I'm a late arrival trying to understand this, of putting a big development into just about nearly the heart of Logan. I can see if it was east side being a little bit more developed where we had Lawson businesses like the mall or something like that. But I think that might be a great place for it. But I don't see trying to take out something that's established. And if it could be transferred back to the city, I don't know how that is. I think it would be good if there was a way that the title of this property could be deemed to them or to a specific group within that district. But I don't see a huge development. This has happened before, and I see it coming. It's the storm before the storms. So I think it would be something to really look at. I think you guys are really into it, especially you, Dave. I know you guys are looking both ways. I'm not saying that RDC or FBI or ODA, whoever they are going to be, successful in this project, because really, I think it's going to add too much density to this sector within Logan. I think there's other places like Larry Hill was talking about. There's plenty of other opportunities to put this apartment complex or townhomes or whatever they're going to do downtown, besides just flop it right in the middle. As far as money-wise, it's not going to make any difference whether it costs $1, $10,000, or $1 million. They're still going to get their money out of it, and it's still going to be redeveloped, but it doesn't need to be really downtown. I think keep downtown as downtown. Logansport's going to grow, either way you look at it. So I guess I said my 2 cents. I'll just go sit back down and leave it up to you guys.
My name is Sarah Walthery, and I do not live in the city of Logansport. I live 2 miles north of town, 1832 North Private Road 190 East. So I don't get to vote as to the politics in Logansport, And yet, every day I come into Logansport. I've worked in Logansport. I shop in Logansport. I do volunteer things in Logansport. And I've lived in Cass County and come to Logansport for 20 years now. For the last at least 10 years, there has been a painful disconnect that I see between the city of Logansport and the people that live in Cass County and do business in Logansport. And there are lots of festivals in and out during the year. We try to attract people to come to Logansport for Light Up Logansport. We want people from all of northern Indiana, and heck, you know, we advertise with the Visitors Bureau to Ohio and Michigan and Illinois, Kentucky. Come visit Logansport. We're proud of Logansport. Here's the Light Up Logansport. Here's our arts festival. Here are our parks. Here are our wonderful assets. Come. This is a warm, wonderful place for you to visit, and we want you to come live here too. And yes, you know, we have unfortunately, we have a lot of empty houses that belong to people that don't want to rent them, don't want to sell them, don't want to. And here we have this one property that belongs to the city of Logansport, and we've been fighting about this property for at least 10 years. Say, okay, we're going to put something there. And that's gonna be great for Logansport. But we have an asset here. We have a farmer's market that has operated and tried to grow and has grown and attracts people from other places, from Indianapolis and from Kokomo and from Peru. And, you know, I've had people there, friends of mine that have come from Ohio and Michigan. They haven't come to see the farmer's market, but it's something that I can take them to on Saturday morning and say, hey, look at what we've got here. How much money does Logansport spend on the Visitors Bureau to say, hey, come to Logansport, we're having this festival? How much money do we spend on Light Up Logansport through Parks and Recreation? How much money do we spend on our Parks and Recreation, on the maintenance of our parks? We spend millions, right? Am I millions in the ballpark when you consider? Okay, we spend a lot of money. And businesses spend a lot of money trying to get people to come. And here we have from the 1st of June to the end of October, a festival that is put on by people from Cass County, people from Logansport, people from different areas that come in to attract people to Logansport. We have an asset that we look at, and you look at it and say, well, okay, you know, they're just a bunch of people that want to do have booths. And you don't look at it like, there are people that have booths there that attract people from all over because they know that that particular vendor is going to be there and they can get things that they can't get anyplace else. People come to Logansport for the farmer's market. And what do we do as the city of Logan? What does the city of Logansport do? Last year, they moved the farmer's market to Melbourne Avenue. People drove down looking for the farmer's market and could not find it. And we've come back this year with more people at the farmer's market than we've had, I think, that we've ever had. People that will spend money, not just at the farmer's market, but they're going to go eat somewhere. It's a mini festival that goes on all summer long. And you're looking at it like it's a like, it's in the way of the development of Logansport. I think it's time that the city puts a value on some of the things that maybe don't have a dollar sign that you can calculate. You can't say, okay, we can sell this to a developer. You know, we have this free piece of ground. It was given to us. And so it's all profit for us if we sell it to a developer, and we're going to have all these taxes and stuff. And you can put a number on that. But you can't put a number so easily on an asset that is a draw for people and something that everybody can feel good about. And instead of fighting over this property, I think it's high time you say, okay, it was given, and you know, whether it's on the deed or not, it was given to the city for the purpose of a permanent home for the farmers market. And it would be so easy, to put a shelter, a small shelter. I think of the shelter in the little community shelter in Walton right now. We were there earlier in the summer for a music event. And it was, you know, the weather's sometimes iffy. You have a small music event. We were all under shelter. There's a bathroom, and one of the biggest drawbacks of the farmers market here in Logansport is that there's no place for the public to go to the bathroom. It's a very, very simple thing to solve. Walton did it. They put a shelter house and a bathroom. I don't know how much money they spent. I could find out, but I'm sure that it wasn't nearly as much as some of the money that we spent on consultants to give us plans over the last 10, 15 years for what to do with this property. We could very simply put a shelter house with a bathroom at one end of that property dedicated to the farmers market, and then promote it. And whether or not you'd see the money, you know, you might not be able to say, okay, this developer is going to pay this much in taxes. There would be revenue to all of Logansport. And then you'd have a very basic thing, which would be this point of contention between people that care about Logansport so much that they spend, I mean, you know, they spend their time, they spend their dollars, they go to the farmers market, they support the farmers market, and instead of having them all angry at you, we could cooperate and do something that would be really good and really positive. It's about time that we stop fighting over some of these assets and say, okay, what can we do that everybody can buy into? And we've done it before. You know, everybody has bought into quite a number of things. And those things, you know, we don't have these arguments every administration. Yeah. Anyway, I'd just like to not have to kick this can down the road. I'd like to see the city do something really constructive about it. And I don't think that giving it to the redevelopment commission so that they can more easily offer it to some developer is a solution. It's just going to make that wound worse, and it's just going to make people feel worse. And we need to start feeling better. Thanks.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments? I would just quickly add them, that I agree with Councilman Morris's assessment of tabling this simply due to the simple fact, the undeniable fact, that in less than a month there will be a new council up here with a majority of new members. It's a very contentious issue, that I don't feel like as a soon-to-be no longer elected official, that I have the right to make a decision on. So I will be, if we go forward with the motion to table, I'll be supporting that. If we insist on going forward, I will be forced to vote no. Is there any other discussion?
Question becomes, we put it up for a vote. Can I make a motion to amend and just table it? Or how can I go about doing it properly?
Yeah, you could make a motion to amend if you, or a motion to table, either one, whichever you would want to do.
I would make a motion that we table it to amend.
Then we have to vote for it, but I think,
Yeah.
so.
What exactly are you amending? We need to discuss it more?
Well, yeah, but not tonight.
Okay.
We need to table it, to look at it and amend it. I think we can add a step in there without delaying anything and get all parties at the table at one time to figure out a solution.
Making the motion to table?
Just making a motion to table.
I'll
Yes.
second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion to table? All right, call for question on the motion to table.
Jonathan Helms,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Dave Morris.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-149 is tabled. Resolution 2023-150, resolution, oh, no, I'm not supposed to read it. Councilwoman Zinsmaster.
You can read one.
No, you guys have had it. I'm just listening.
Resolution 2023-150, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, transferring appropriations for the Parks Department. And I would ask for a vote on Resolution 2023-150.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Call for question.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Jonathan Helms,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-150 is passed. Resolution 2023-151, Councilman Morris.
Resolution 2023-151, resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, transferring appropriations for the police department. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, call for question.
Jonathan Helms,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Yes.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Dave Morris.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-151 is passed. Resolution 2023-152, Councilman Hood.
Resolution 2023-152 is a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, allocating funds for the support of Pets R Us, Cass County Humane Society. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Leader, I ask for a vote on Resolution 2023-152.
Second.
Motion and second. Is there any discussion?
I'd just like to remind council that this is the exact same resolution that was brought up last month and passed 7-0 in favor. It was vetoed by the mayor at his discretion. We did not receive any kind of a response to why he vetoed that, which leads us to this process of having to revote on this resolution. So I would just remind you, this is the same funding that we approved last month. And it's to override the veto.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, call for question.
Jonathan Helms,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Yes.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Dave Morris.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-152 is passed. Resolution 2023-153, Councilman Petey.
Resolution 2023-153, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, creating Fund 299/2414 for the federal grant for the purchase of police body cameras. Mr. Leader, I ask for a vote on Resolution 2023-153, please.
Second.
Is there a second? Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, Dwayne, I'd like, can you just kind of explain to me how this is working? Because I know this is for the body cams we previously purchased, is that correct?
Correct. This was done, and the chief had received a grant for this, and we had actually budgeted money within the council, had budgeted money for part of this as a matching grant. The grant came through, but there was never a fund addressed for it because we didn't realize we needed a fund. So in closing it out for this year, we recognized there was a need for a fund, and this is just a bookkeeping issue. The money has been sitting in the wrong account because of that, the grant money has. So we need to put it into this fund. And as the resolution reads, as soon as it's moved through, we'll close the fund right after that, and the books will be corrected. So this is more or less a State Board of Accounts bookkeeping issue more than anything. And we want to stay in compliance because this was a federal fund, and we want to keep ourselves in compliance with them so that if Chief Yikes wants to go back and apply again, it doesn't show up as a black spot on our grant forms.
So do the funds end up back in the lit? Is that how this ends up working, or? Because we paid the full amount up front, didn't
So
we?
that's what I was about to say. We had to pay it, and then once they see the submission, the payment being made, then they send us. That's how the grant works.
It was a reimbursement grant.
Reimbursement grant.
So we
paid
put it
up
into-
front, They reimburse us back the other amount.
So what, and then what are we going to do with the funds? Leave them there for
The funds that
additional-
were reimbursed have been sitting in the Make My Move fund for all this time because we had no place to put them as a grant. So this would put them into that grant fund. We would move it then into the lit and it'd be gone.
Okay, that was my question. It
Yes,
ends up. Okay.
all we're doing is making a pass-through
Right.
fund so that the State Board of Accounts can
Okay.
follow the money that was transferred in and keep us in compliance with them.
So the actual grant was 33.6?
Yes.
Yes. Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, call for question.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Jonathan Nelms,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-153 is passed. Resolution 2023-154, Councilwoman Zinsmaster.
Resolution 2023-154, a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, approving the appropriation of funding for the purchase of the UTV for the cemetery, and I would ask for a vote for Resolution 2023-154.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All right. Hearing none, call for question.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Jonathan Nelms,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster.
Yes.
Resolution 2023-154 is passed. Ordinance 2023-34, Councilman Morris.
Ordinance 2023-34, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, vacating an alley in the City of Logansport, Indiana. I'd move this forward for a vote.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, call for question.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Yes.
Jonathan Nelms.
Yes. Ordinance 2023-34 is passed on its first reading.
Aaron, did you want us, were you wanting to suspend the rules on that?
If you want to read the resolution for the rest of the.
Well, that's why I was asking. Okay, I'd make a motion to suspend the rules, have the second reading.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second on the suspension of rules. Is there any discussion? Call for question.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Jonathan Elms.
Yes. Rules are suspended. Do I have a motion to vote on a second reading?
The motion.
I'll second.
Second to vote on a second reading. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, call for question.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Jonathan Elms,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Yes.
Larry Hood.
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-34 is passed on its second reading. Ordinance 2023-35, Councilman Hood.
Mr. Later, may I interrupt? Should we revisit Resolution 2023-148?
We were
You wanna do that at the
going to
end
do
or-
that at the
or
end.
now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was putting that at the end.
Okay, very good. I'm sorry.
Ordinance 2023-35 is an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, establishing rules and procedures for the Wright Street Park Truck. Mr. Leader, I ask for a vote on ordinance 2023-35.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, call for question.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Jonathan Elms,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Yes.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Larry Hood.
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-35 is passed on its first reading. Ordinance 2023-36, Councilwoman Zinsmaster.
Ordinance 2023-36, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, authorizing scheduled increases in employees and retirees' contributions for health insurance, and ask for a vote on the first reading of ordinance 2023-36.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I would just comment that I talked with Marla today, and I believe everyone has signed up for the new health insurance period for 2024.
Chief Barry, you have something to say?
Yeah, I just wanted a real quick thing. It was brought to my concern, so I just wanted to voice my concern. We had got the projected numbers for the insurance cost, obviously, and then we were asked to sign up for insurance before knowing the final numbers or the approved numbers. So in the future, I would just ask that prior to us being given a deadline to sign up for insurance, that we would have an approved number. And the reason I said that, I've got some of my firefighters that could have went on their wife's plans, but they had to have the insurance information submitted prior to this vote. So they were kind of forced on taking it or not. So just kind of food for thought for next time.
Yeah, unfortunately, they were given the numbers, weren't they, in advance?
They were given the numbers, but it was projected out. It's not been approved yet by.
Right, and I agree with you, Rick, and a lot of that was because the insurance company was so slow getting with us.
Okay, no problem. Just
But
food for thought for next time.
I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, call for question.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Jonathan Elms,
No.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Dave Morris.
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-36 is passed on its first reading. Ordinance 2023-37, Councilman Petey.
Ordinance 2023-37, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, setting guidelines for lateral entry program for officers with previous law enforcement experience, hiring into the Logansport Police Department. Mr. Leader, I ask for a vote on ordinance 2023-37, please.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, call for question.
Jonathan Nelms,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Scott Petey.
Yes.
Ordinance 2023-37 is passed on its first reading.
I'd like to suspend the rules.
Second.
Have a second reading.
Motion and a second for suspension of rules. Any discussion? Hearing none, call for question on the suspension of rules.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Jonathan Nelms,
Yes.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster.
Yes.
The rules are suspended. Do I have a motion to vote on it on its second reading?
Make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call for question.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Jonathan Nelms.
Yes. Ordinance 2023-37 is passed on its second reading. Ordinance 2023-38, Councilman Morris.
An ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, establishing a downtown designated outdoor refreshment area. I'd move this forward for a vote.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
I have a question. How many people, like, how many businesses ended up turning in the paper that we talked about from the last meeting? For their application, I guess.
Yeah, so we had Bonus Pints, but a few others said they were going to fill it out. I just didn't go after them because I had other things going on, because we just met last week with them.
Right.
So I can bring forward a new list for second reading if you'd like, but all the ones that we met with, which was probably 4 or 5 different ones, were all interested. No one was.
The only one that's actually submitted.
Right.
Okay.
At this time. And that's the one that's in the ordinance.
This is a pilot program, correct, in case this does not work out?
Yeah, so if it doesn't work out, you can go ahead and come back through and get rid of the district easily, just as you appoint the district.
I wanted, I looked at the new boundaries that you drew, and you've got them, I noticed you got them down High Street. So the only question I had wasn't, and I mean, it's just a detail, really. It says that both sides, you can go down either side of the street when you're walking.
Yes.
But when you outlined the perimeters, you had the even side of the street rather than the odd side of the street as the outside boundary. So how does that work? Is that okay like that, or?
I can update that. So my question was kind of that, is whether or not it felt that those properties were in it, because they're actually not. So I can change that, I can add.
No, I'm just asking, I didn't want.
I don't know what's right or wrong.
Because, when you read the description, it says one thing, but then when you.
Yeah,
when I
yeah,
looked
so
at
I can change that to be the other side, I just didn't want.
I didn't know how they'd look at that when you sent it out.
I can check into that more.
Yeah.
It's request from the state and let them decide for us.
Yeah.
Did they say to the end of the meeting?
Now, Will, I read some information that I had on this, that I guess you gave it to us the first time we met a couple months ago. So are you going to be allowed to take drinks inside of other establishments?
If they allow it. So.
So how will people know that?
So what we would do is we would design different, like clings to the doors that they would be able to purchase, or we can work on funding if this gets approved through the state, to say, we sell Dora, we accept Dora inside, so basically we accept, or we sell Dora but we don't accept it, or we're not part of the program. So that way that people going into the establishment would know that they're not allowed to bring the drinks in or what have you.
And will you have those type of things done before the second reading?
Yeah, so we can put those together now. I mean, we already have the design and everything. So the ordinance basically says from the state that you have to adopt the minimum signage And so that's what we provided, the signage that would have to go on the exits of each establishment. But we do have some signage of like you're entering the district, and we have some ideas of what that would be like a cling-wise, if you want me to submit those in the packet as well.
Well, I'm just, I'm reading through here, and I'm not sure what you have to and don't have to.
Yeah, so the
I
requirement
think
through the
that-
state is the exit signs, you have to have those adopted with.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about, again, from a public perspective, if I'm in that district and I'm not a part of that, I want to know exactly what the rules are going to be before, it's passed, and then I realize I should have gone down and said, hey, I'm not sure I like this idea or that idea. The other question I had was, reading through it, is the vendor, they talk about vendor areas. Now, do we have to define where those vendor areas are going to be, or are those just kind of random when they come up?
So on the state application, you actually have to apply to be a vendor in that area. So let's say we're having an event at Little Turtle and we want to make it open to the whole Dora, they would submit a vendor to the state.
But we don't have to have that indicated as a vendor location in advance?
Jacob,
Not necessarily.
I don't
and it's
think
something
that I
we
read
can
that you
add,
had to.
Like the other establishments do, where
Well, that's-
if we get 6 months down the road and somebody didn't sign up, that they could then do that. So that's something that we can add as we go forward.
It's not a requirement by the state code that you have to locate them. It's just if you have those as locations, you have to have certain signage. So that would be the question. So if we just have a temporary sign that's put out when a festival is happening there, or let's say, someone wants to have a wine tasting outside in that area, they would apply, and then we could give them a sign to put up so that people know that the regulations. So it's basically, the rules that the state says is find your boundary, have a vendor, provide the signage for the vendor for the exterior doors, and then if you have temporary vendors that don't have a brick and mortar, they would then also apply to the state and have to provide signage. But you can add yourself easily, it's just filling out that state form.
Yeah, I wasn't too concerned about the brick and mortar places. It was more about.
And so what
people
we
just
can-
decide, you can decide to have a vendor on any open space, and as long as we approve it before it goes to the state.
There is a special permit that should have been in your packet as well for vendors. So there's an application if you're not a brick and mortar for special events or vendors. That'd be filled out with that state form to approve you as a vendor.
But do we have the ability to approve those sites as they come up ourselves, even though it's in the door, or can they just say, I'm going to put it here and?
You would approve that application for that special vendor or special event.
That go through like Board of Works?
I would go to board.
Yeah, okay, that's kind of what I was asking.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Further discussion? Hearing none, call for question.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Jonathan Nelm.
Yes. Ordinance 2023-38 is passed on its first reading.
City one.
And if you want anything additional before second meeting, let me, any of that additional signage. We do have suggested places. I just didn't want to put it in the ordinance so that those were the exact locations to put like you're entering or exiting. Because after we talk to the street department or different places, we might find out it's a better location somewhere else. So.
I got you, okay, thank you.
Moving back to Resolution 2023-148, Councilman Petey.
Resolution 2023-148, resolution of the Common Council of the City of Logansport, Indiana, to approve and enter into a land acquisition agreement with the Logansport Redevelopment Commission. Mr. Leader, I ask for a vote on Resolution 2023-148, please.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, call for question.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Yes.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Larry Hood,
Yes.
Jonathan Nelms.
Yes. Resolution 2023-148 is passed. With no more business, we'll move into public comments. If anyone in the audience has something to say, please come to the mic, state your name and address. Seeing none, move into council member comments. Anybody from the council?
Nicely job. Nice job.
Appreciate that.
I'll just simply say that it's been an honor to serve the city of Logansport for the last 8 years. It's been an honor to work with our department heads. They've been super to work with. I'm gonna miss working with you guys, but I'm still gonna show up to meetings. And it's been an honor to work with this, the current council that we have. I have confidence in our council members coming on board to replace the ones that won't be in, but I've truly enjoyed my term for 8 years, so.
I'd like to echo that. Yeah, I'd like to echo that too, that I've enjoyed my 4 years as clerk treasurer, and it's been an experience. I have enjoyed working with the council members and with the department heads, and everybody within the city has been really great. I've appreciated that, and I'm sure that we'll be in good hands going forward with the new council and new clerk treasurer.
I'm going to try to echo without word from word. I will say that the last 4 years have probably been the greatest honor I've ever had in my life. Granted, I'm only 24, so that's not been very long, but it's a high point. Getting to see how the city runs from this side of things and being given the honor at 19 years old to kind of have a voice and try to do my part for this community that I love has been amazing. And I'm proud of the work that we've gotten done. I'm proud of the working relationship that I think we've all had. I think sometimes it's been misconstrued amongst the public, but for the most part, we've all worked really well. Chief Yike, I appreciate all the hours of conversation on how to move your department forward. Bob over at the cemetery, you've done a great job over the last few years. Aaron, I probably worked with you more than just about anybody else who've had to put up with me, and I appreciate that. I could go on and on. I leave knowing and feeling like we left the city better than we found it, and I truly do think that the best days of Logansport are ahead. And so sincerely from the bottom of my heart, thank you for this amazing honor to have sat here for 4 years.
I just want to say thank you to Larry, Jonathan, and Dwayne for your service. It's been an honor to work with you guys. Thank you.
You guys too.
I echo that. I appreciate everything you guys have done. Dwayne just think, won't be long, you won't have to put up with me anymore.
I haven't been on here very long, but I appreciate everybody helping me and getting me acclimated to this, so thank you.
Been a good replacement, Haley.
Yes.
Coming in a difficult position, you've been a good replacement.
Any further council member comments? Hearing none, miscellaneous business and any matters not already considered, including ADA Section 504 compliance or concerns. Hearing
Motion
none.
we adjourn.
Second.
Call for question on adjournment.
Jonathan Nelms,
Yes.
Dave Morris,
Yes.
Haley Zinsmaster,
Yes.
Scott Petey,
Yes.
Larry Hood.
Yes.
It's 8:14, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you gonna